There's a reason why the politicians, the pastors, the big men in Nigeria train their kids abroad. First jobs after NYSC, probably like 3, 4, 5, 6 years, gainful employment after NYSC. And even after NYSC, some people 10 years, they haven't gotten a job, not even a place to intern. It's bad.
Hi guys, welcome back again to my YouTube channel.
Hold on. Do not come for me, please. Just listen to what I have to say first. I'm not saying you turned out badly, but just listen. Do you think raising a kid in Africa, with particular reference to Nigeria now, because I mean, that's where I'm domiciled, that's where I can speak of.
Do you think a child living in Nigeria
in the 20th century is at a disadvantage as opposed to someone raised abroad in a developed country? My answer to that question would be yes. I feel like any child, any teenager, any adult raised in Nigeria in the 20th century is at a disadvantage compared to his counterpart living in the UK, in Canada, in the US, in China, in Russia, in Dubai, in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, in most of the developing worlds and most of the countries with good economies. And here are about 5 to 6 points of mine. I'm not saying everybody should japa. All I'm saying is use your tongue to count your teeth. There's a reason why the politicians, the pastors, the big men in Nigeria train their kids abroad. There's a reason why. There's a reason why your pastors, your general overseers, your politicians, your House of Rep members, your senators raise their kids abroad, send them abroad to study. There's a difference. There are good schools in Nigeria, but we both know there's a difference. Internships. There's nothing like we having teenagers, having people in high school go for internships. And that's why most times you see someone who is 21, 20, who has graduated from college abroad, is telling you that she's a senior manager in one of these big companies, one of these tech companies, one of these big companies. And that's because her CV is weighty. She's interned in JP Morgan, she's interned in Chase, all whilst pursuing a degree in the university or even before pursuing a degree. So the CVs are so padded with so much experience that you know that. Whereas in Nigeria, most people get their first jobs after NYSC, probably like 3, 4, 5, 6 years, gainful employment after NYSC. And even after NYSC, some people 10 years, they haven't gotten a job, not even a place to intern. It's bad. It's bad. And you want to compete with someone who has interned since she was 15 for the same role. Where do you stand? Do you get where I'm going to? So these internship opportunities are not there. The job transparency opportunities are not there for people, for you to be able to negotiate your pay. For instance, I'm going to post some pictures for you to see. This. It gives you an idea of the range to go for. A lot of people in Nigeria do not negotiate salaries very well when they're going for a new offer. That's because they have no idea of what it is. But seriously, you might be throwing yourself under the bus because, well, when you give an offer, or when the first offer is made to you, you might feel, oh, it's a lot. But hello, that is not even the best offer because most companies have a bigger budget when they are trying to get in new recruits as opposed to people who are already in the company. So you are also shooting yourself in the foot when you go for the first offer. But most people do not know that because they do not have that data at their disposal. So you don't even know what the company pays for people in that role or that level. So it's hard. I don't know if it's the contracts that we sign in Nigeria or if it's the environment or it's customary, but people are not even transparent enough to tell you or what they earn or an estimate of what they earn. But that data is all over the internet for people who are abroad. So you know that, oh, if you're vying for this position, negotiate within this bracket. So speaking further as well, with respect to jobs, there's no dignity of labor when it comes to non-formal jobs or informal jobs or jobs that are not in the corporate space. Take for instance, you have a teenager who is 15, 14, 13, 17, 18. Most of them start off working in places like TK Maxx, Tesco, Co-ops, like Target. Most of these retail stores, right, as customer experience people, salesman and all, sales rep and all whatnot. All these experiences trickle down tomorrow to something. Someone who is a sales rep in Tesco today could be a sales marketing executive in Amazon tomorrow, because it's still the same skill set. It's still the same skill set. All you just need to do is harness them, fine-tune them, give a few trainings, and the person is up and running, because the core principle, the foundational steps, everything is already inculcated in that person because of the experience the person has from the retail stores she or he intended at the beginning. But you don't have that happening here in Nigeria, because I tell you for free that there's no dignity in labor when it comes to an informal working space. Because first and foremost, the pay is crap. I was speaking to a friend the other day and I was telling her, right, I work in 9 to 5, but my 9 to 5 is only bound to 9 to 5 Mondays to Fridays, but I have weekends. If I was living abroad, I could use my weekend to make more money. That's another source of income. The culture in Nigeria too, it's not to say it's a bad thing, but most African parents, because of the environment we live in, are overly protective of their kids, to a point that their kids are more often than not more like regulated. It's more school, church, home. School, church, home. Most African children do not even know the way to the market. Most Nigerian children, especially those in the elite class, do not even know the way to the market, cannot even go on public transportation. I was on a train the other day, and I saw a child. She should be a teenager, but she was navigating her way so intelligently that I was like, what? At this girl's age, I couldn't board a public transport myself. I could never. It wasn't because my parents were overly protective, but you go, which public transport do you want to board and a tout is not disturbing you? You go to the market and they are dragging you here and there. Sometimes they even touch you inappropriately. And so that's why you understand that some of the fears of our African parents who have kids and raise kids in Nigeria are sometimes valid, because things happen. You see things in the news, and then when we tell you some things that happen in Nigeria, you feel like it's a fairy tale or it's one Nollywood script from somewhere. But that's the hardcore truth. It's so real. And so you really do not blame parents who are overly protective. However, it trickles down to other things. There are some adults, some people in their early 20s, they don't even know the vicinity. They don't even know the map of the area they live around. They don't even know areas. Like, they can't intelligently navigate their way through a certain area, maybe a city where they live in, or an area or it's just surrounding, which is bad if you look at it in a normal global setting, which is bad, right? So because as an adult, as a teenager, you should know at least the shortcuts to the area where you live or places you live, so that in case of any adversity tomorrow, you're able to navigate your way, right? So, but these are things that you can't freely have in Nigeria. I'm not saying there are no vices in the developed countries. Obviously, we hear of massive shooting in public areas and all whatnot, but that's one out of 1,000 good things happening, right? So I mean, we also still have vices in Nigeria too. If it's not kidnapping, it's raping, it's molestation, it's beheading of people and all whatnot. So plays that role. And then also in places like here in Nigeria, where at least for the children of the rich, it's from one driver to another, from one private car to another. You can't get the public system because we don't have a functional public system that matches what a real world setting should be, right? You get into to even get into a bus in Lagos, Nigeria is a hassle, right? I know a colleague of mine who had her phone stolen when she got into a public bus one chance, this one, that one, that one, that one. But in public train system, at least for the train and the buses I've entered, everyone is coordinated. Everything is coordinated. You don't have people who are standing and giving unsolicited sexual enhancement marketing system in public buses where children are. You don't have things like that. Everyone is calculated and focused on what they're doing, minding their businesses. Unauthorized or uncensored marketing are not allowed, and things like that. So it's beautiful, it works. But like I said, it's still the environment we live in. Nigerian father or mother would not let their child leave their homes, especially if they're girls, if they're not married, except maybe if you're moving to another location because of work, right? So it's even now that you see a lot of YouTubers who are moving out of their parents' homes, and you see that they make a fuss out of it, who are moving out of their parents' home to be on their own even without being married. The normal, typical Nigerian home is from your father's house to your house. But even in your father's house, most people who live in their father's house, who are even up to 20, 25, 30, who are yet unmarried, do not pay rent. Well, that's to the advantage again, because in the Nigerian system, we pay rent per annum, which might not be high. And in some cases, their parents might be the landlords. But here abroad, in most homes, even if you live with your parents, you contribute to the rent. That way you have that sense of, oh, I'm an adult, I have to fend for myself. I feel like that sense of responsibility is inculcated earlier enough in their lives in such a way that they're able to plan. The environment is what I'm trying to talk about, not the people, the environment, the culture, everything about it. Like I said when I started this video, think about it. There are some of your counterparts who live abroad or who left you when you were in Nigeria, moved abroad. Most of them, if we're being honest, most of them are better off now, both in career terms, financially and otherwise, than most of their counterparts in Nigeria. Take for instance that girl who was a nurse who was in Nigeria, and as a nurse in the US, she's been able to build a house for her parents in Nigeria, a duplex. How many nurses in Nigeria who have worked the number of years she has worked can't be able to do that? So it shows in the environment. How many doctors in Nigeria, currently the doctors are even threatening to go on strike because of unpaid salaries, whereas doctors abroad are the ones balling. I wanted to take a trip to Morocco from the UK. From the UK to Morocco, it was about 39 pounds. 39 pounds in Nigeria should be about 70k or 80k thereabouts, depending on the exchange rate. But from Nigeria to Morocco was over 600 pounds. The difference was a lot. So you see that traveling around Europe and all the rest of them, you can do that on a budget with your family and you experience the world. But how many people in Nigeria, if you want to do like a trip from Nigeria to any part of the world, even South Africa is even expensive, to any part of the world, you're going to pay times 4 of whatever anybody's paying coming from the UK or coming from the US or coming from any of the developed world to those places. Because most times these people get these things at a better price. I don't know. Everything is just, with the environment, everything is just crazier, right? So if you want to go on an annual summer trip, for instance, from Nigeria, with a family of 4, your budget should be around 10 to 12, 20 million, depending on what you want to do, choice of hotel, type of tickets, places you want to visit, country of choice, and stuff like that. But with 500, 400, even less than 300 pounds, you should be able to have an amazing summer with your family around Europe. So for me, I don't know, the environment needs to be changed because we're in the same world, right? Let's not deceive ourselves. We're in the same world with the same people who are in China, who are in the US, who are in the UK, who are in developed countries, right? We're in the same world, but they're moving at a faster pace, whereas as if we're still perambulating the realms of the 17th century and stuff like that. It's sad because most of the people we see in Nigeria, they have the brains, they have the energy, but most of them are stuck there. It's not like they don't want to have better in life, but it's a case of so get me wrong, a lot of people have turned out nicely in Nigeria, but not a lot of people have. And that's the sad reality. So sometimes, if you look, I'm not saying compare and contrast though, but you know, as you live in this life, you use your corner eye and check the people you started this race with. Where are they? That gives you motivation. That gives you like the push to like keep striving. Let's call it spade. A spade is. There's the difference between comparison and checking to be sure that you're not slacking behind, and trying to draw inspiration from people. Like, I'm not saying compare and contrast. That's not what I'm saying. So it's called check and balancing. I don't know how to explain it. It's called check and balance, like to spur you to like keep striving. Know that there's more out there. It could be better. There's more. You deserve more. Something like that.